Hey there, I'm Asha Junot, and you're listening to This Hope Podcast. You being here is no small thing, and my hope is to fill your ears and your heart with words that invite us to lean in, stretch out our arms, and take hold of what will satisfy our souls. Wherever you are, wonder, connection, and hope are within reach. Come and see. Hello, and welcome back to This Hope Podcast. I am so grateful you're here, and I'm so grateful for your time. Disclaimer, if I sound a little bit froggy, it is because I have literally been talking for the last 12 hours. I am not joking. My 3.5-year-old is very much in his why stage and simultaneously dropping his nap. So we spend all of our days together, which is the greatest joy of my life. But he is the most curious child, coupled with being 3.5 and asking why for everything, and you get this voice. We were going to the playground this evening to burn off just those extra zoomies before bed, and I went to go say something to him, and my voice did this, and I just had to laugh. Like, I am literally hoarse because we've been talking all day. So bear with me. Also, I am just in my laundry room right now, in my jammies, and I feel like I need to tell you that I stand in like a fabric laundry basket when I'm recording these because I kind of like shuffle my feet back and forth. And I realize that when I'm standing on just my normal like hard floor, you kind of hear like the sticking and popping of my feet moving. And so every time I record one of these, I stand in this little laundry basket. So there you have it. Now that you have a very clear picture of where I'm at physically and mentally in this moment, we can begin. Hi, hello, welcome. So, something that you've probably heard me say a lot, or if you've read my book, you've read this quite a lot, is that Jesus is always the perfect example. Jesus is always the perfect example. And I say that and I write that because it's true. Jesus is perfect. And the amazing thing is that his perfection only gets more and more and more mind-blowing the more we look and the deeper we dig. Last week, we talked about how inevitable suffering will bring out our inherent glory if we turn to God. It's not the way we would have chosen, and it's honestly not what God wanted either, but it is God's perfect way of redeeming this imperfect world. And again, Jesus is the perfect example of this. The cross is the ultimate picture of pain with a purpose. Jesus' death, his sorrow and suffering, was the only way to defeat sin and make a way for our hearts to be fully reunited with the heart of our Maker. Every sacrifice and small suffering that came before Jesus was a tiny and temporary attempt at eternal atonement. But the blood of even the best lamb could never be enough. It could never be enough because while a sacrifice could convey repentance, it ended with bloodshed. Death was the end. But Christ's death was only the beginning. Jesus' life had the final say over sin. His resurrection was the end and the beginning of new life for everyone for eternity. Life from death, light in darkness, forever hope that would never falter or fade or flicker could only come through suffering. Just like our inherent glory is tumbled and polished out by the inevitable suffering of this world, Jesus' glory came through his suffering. Jesus is always the perfect example. Another truth that I love to teach and write is that Jesus is God's heart on full display. If you want to know what God is like and how God feels about you, look at Jesus. In my deep dive on glory for the previous podcast, I came across this verse in Hebrews that made my heart and my mind jump for joy. Seriously, you should see my journals from when God first made this connection for me. So much capitalization and underlining and so many exclamation points. In Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3, it says, Jesus is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature. Wow. Way more powerful way of saying that Jesus is God's heart on full display. Listen to this again. Jesus is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature. If you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus, the exact imprint of his nature. Look at Jesus. And not a false picture of Jesus painted by those who are blinded by hate. No, look at the real Jesus. Jesus who seeks out those on the outside. Jesus who touches the untouchables. Jesus who shares meals with the shunned. Jesus who crouches down to look a child in the eye and tell them and everyone around them that they are the most precious in God's kingdom. As a mom, anything that has to do with children just grabs my heart. And so to think about Jesus being a person that was kind to children, Jesus being a person that children wanted to be around, that's a really, really big deal. As a mom, if my child likes someone, if my child engages with someone and feels safe with someone, that someone means the world to me. Talk about making a mother's heart happy. If you make a mother's child smile, you've just won her over. And that is Jesus. Jesus truly did love the little children, and he was loved by them too, which is a really big deal. And it's also a really big deal because kids are brutally honest. They act on emotion and instinct. A child knows who is safe. A child knows who is kind. A child knows who is sincere. Kids don't hang around grown-ups who are mean or angry or take themselves too seriously. But a child cannot get enough of a safe grown-up. A safe adult who gets down on their level, who laughs and plays and actually listens, and not just listens to instruct, but listens to learn something too. That is Jesus. That is the exact imprint of God's nature. The radiance of the glory of God. Jesus is God's heart on full display. Look to Jesus. He is safe and kind and sincere and fun and creative and patient. That is the radiance of the glory of God and the exact imprint of his nature. Look at Jesus, the always perfect example and God's heart on full display. Today's the day, friend. This Hope podcast is a series on the Wellspring, Pensacola podcast. You can expect new episodes right here on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Tuesdays of every month. If you'd like to connect in between, you can find me on Instagram at Asha Junot. That's ASHAJUNEOH, or at ashajuno.com. Until next time, sending you hugs and hope.